Hey YouTubers, X Factor here with some AMTRAC domination on some Nose Hair Canal's Rush Assault. We just hit a clump of mines, and I gotta give a shout out to the driver. Whoever you are, you took it slow and steady and really put us in a position, our team, to succeed. But that's not the real subject matter today. Most of you guys, my community members, are really smart and made an observation. Hey man, it sounds like you've got a smoker's cough. What's going on? You feeling okay? Well, to tell you the truth, I have severe asthma. In my childhood years, I almost lost my life several different times, even though I had the best doctors in a 5-state area. So let's rewind a little bit and talk about growing up with a life-threatening disease. First and foremost, when I was having an asthma attack, it feels like somebody's standing on your chest and you cannot breathe, and it does not get better. Even while doing this commentary, I'm still out of breath and short-winded, so you might hear me breathing a little bit more methodically than normally. So you've got that weight on the chest there, but let's talk about lung function. It's a test which defines how bad your asthma is, and it's dictated by breathing into these high-tech machines and these guys measuring your in and outflow. During a bad asthma attack, I would have 30% or less lung function. So imagine taking your mouth, opening it wide, and breathing in as deep as possible with no restrictions. Now figure out a way to take a couple straws, put them in your mouth, and start breathing in as deep as possible. It really feels like that, like you're fighting some invisible force trying to breathe and gasp for air. When you're a child, it is absolutely frightening and mind-boggling. Now that I'm an adult, I've kind of gotten used to the precursors, and this guy is about to take off to the moon. Thanks for laying those sweet mines. That's going to help as well. And he is not coming back down. It's like the aliens just done snatched him up. He's gone. So let's rewind back to my childhood years. I used to play basketball and baseball, and I started at both second base and point guard all my life. But I spent a ton of time in the hospital system, especially during the school year. During the summer, my asthma was in check because my triggers were cold weather and illness. What's illness? Get a sinus infection, a cold, a touch of the flu. My asthma was already heightened. Combine that with playing any type of sports or extracurricular activity, that is a death sentence. But as a boy playing fair baseball, AAU, basketball camps, you name it, you could not take that away from me. My dad was a 4-year college football middle linebacker, and he and my grandfather got me into sports, and I loved them. Couldn't play football because it was too cold. I actually used to be the fastest kid in my class. The coaches, who my brother played for as a middle linebacker, wanted me to play, but I simply could not. Instead, I dedicated my life to basketball and baseball, and currently volleyball, which is another summer sport. So cold weather was my trigger. And even though basketball is an indoor sport, you're out and into the cold throughout the day, and it just being there was bad enough. So how did I remedy this? I had 3 specialists at the hospital system, and I was on 8 drugs a day. Literally, when I was a kid, starting from 6 months of age, I was diagnosed at a hospital visit, of course, because it landed me there. I took 3 to 5 nebulizers a day, which is a concoction of things you put in an aerosol form and breathe. On top of that, I'd have various pills, a lot of trial medications, some of which made it to the market, some of which did not because they caused some pretty nasty symptoms, and the mother of all shitty asthma drugs, and this drug's used for anti-swelling and a bunch of other stuff. You might have been on it yourself. It's called prednisone. Tastes like chalk, causes mood swings, causes you to be an angry kid. And when I was a 10 to 13-year-old, 14-year-old hormonal pissed off kid missing practices and games, I was not a nice person. People come visit me in the hospital, I'd be fine, all peachy and cheery, but the second they left, I was grumpy. I was down in the dumps. But you know what? As I grew older, I learned to cope, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Why? Because in my hospital, on my floor, cystic fibrosis kids were on the floor. What's that? It's like asthma, but a degenerative disease of the lungs where people are actually terminal and lose their lives in their mid-20s and early 30s now, thanks to the modern marvels of science and medicine. When I was a kid, a lot of these kids were dying in rooms next to me. It was the saddest thing in the world. These people would come in with the highest spirits because, you know what? They're breathing pain-free. Meanwhile, I'm bitching and moaning about missing my 5th or 6th or 7th day of practice, or missing the weekend just wanting to be home because I've got 2 IVs in my arms. My arms arms are both swollen from some of the Solumedrol they put in them, which is a liquid form of steroids, not that type of steroids, asthma steroids, medical steroids. They don't get you puffed and jacked up. They actually cause swelling, massive gains of water weight. So by the time I'd get out of the hospital, my average stay was anywhere from 3 to 10 days. I would look like a chipmunk. I'd put on a bunch of water weight that I would literally lose in 2 days. The cool thing is all the people I went to school with, whether it was middle school, grade school, or high school, were super cool. I'd come back to school, they'd all be super nice and make sure I was doing okay and try to help me out on my day, get reacclimated to school. Because every year I would literally have anywhere from 2 to 6 or 7 hospital visits. It was so bad. You know, I had really good grades in high school. I went to a private high school. They wanted to revoke my credits for 1 semester, even though I had straight A's and like 1 B. So that got shot down real quickly because obviously with my medical conditions, you can't pull that stuff, whether it's public or private school. So I had the sports that was pushing me, and I loved it. But it became too much. Late in my junior year, I literally had to stop playing both. I've had several brushes with death, which caused me around my junior year to stop playing sports. I simply had to. I literally almost killed myself by having this combination of having a winter trigger, an illness trigger, and playing sports. It was the most lethal concoction known to mankind. There's a couple times where I almost didn't make it to the hospital, where they literally would inject me with an EpiPen, and that gasp of fresh air was like my saving grace. And again, it wasn't a full gasp of air. It was a broken, I'm an asthmatic, I can't breathe, but at least I can breathe gasp of air, where you're almost unconscious. The level of oxygen in your system is so low. And there was no guarantee I was ever going to come back from that. And that's how hard I pushed myself. In these games, I knew it was coming. I could feel it. It kept getting worse and worse and worse. But I said, Coach, I'm ready. Put me back in. I tell him, Coach, I need a breather. You know, I was a point guard. I helped captain the ship. And baseball wasn't that big of a deal because it was just summertime, and you don't do a lot of running in baseball. That's why most of these baseball players are fat as fuck, really. But stepped back my junior year, and that was it. I played in leagues and organized stuff. I played paintball. I played volleyball. I played some basketball leagues. I quit baseball. I hated softball. I had a 10-inch Nakona mitt, a second baseman, shortstop mitt, and there's no way I was going to some big lumpy softball bit. And as you can see, the AMTRAC is going to slowly maneuver this water buffalo to the final set of MCOMs. So what's your asthma like now? Well, I did CrossFit heavy for about 2 years, took some time off for the baby, about a year off, but I still had to do medication. I'm on much less medication now that I'm an adult because I've considered childhood asthma than I ever was, which is a good thing. But if I try to work out, play basketball, volleyball, anything with at least doing a Preventol inhaler, I'm going to be absolutely miserable and probably going to have a real bad night. And that was the worst part about being an asthmatic, no matter if I was a child or an adult. If you're having asthma issues, the nights were 10 times worse because you have all this congestion in your lungs, all this mucus and nasty stuff just clogging up what little space you have left. So sleepless nights, no problem. Cold sweats, got it, been there, done it a bajillion times because your epinephrine level drops throughout the night and you're in a stationary position. It's the absolute worst, and that's what I hate most about being an asthmatic is the tough nights. But even with all that said and how bad it was, it could have been worse. And that's one of the first things I learned with my own eyes in the hospital system, making rounds with my doctors early in the morning. And that was one of the cool things. That's how cool my doctors were. If I was stable, they'd take me on rounds. I saw terminal kids left and right and kids that had it worse than me. I stopped complaining about the little petty stuff. What else did I learn? If I have a desire, if I have a goal, if I want something, I'm going to go get it, and nothing is going to stand in my way because I faced death in the eye and laughed at it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this more personal talk. I'm going to do more of these if you guys like them. If you guys had a little fun with the AMTRAC domination, don't forget about the old thumbs up as well. We'll see you, YouTube.